Day, everybody. I hope that you're well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on dictionary skills. And before we start with our lesson on dictionary skills, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username and our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 5, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of dictionary skills. So our chapter is dictionary skills. Our subject is English, which is language arts, grade 5, and the lessons that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of dictionary skills is to use guide words and to use dictionary entries. And we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so when it comes to dictionary skills, then it basically just means that it's like we are kind of giving you a guide as to how to properly, let's say, use your dictionary, right? How to look for a certain word. And when also looking up a certain word, they'll basically give you, you look up a specific word that you are meaning to look up, and then they'll specifically tell you if it is either a noun, they'll tell you if it's a verb, an adjective, they'll basically tell you whatever part of speech it is. Sometimes they even give you the pronunciation of the word. So there's different guides as to when it comes to dictionary skills, right? Even if you look up a specific word, they'll give you the almost like the adjective of it, and they'll describe certain words based on that. All right, so when it comes to dictionary skills, right, we also have guide words. And guide words, it appears on each page of a dictionary. So the guide words, it appears on each page of the dictionary. So it will basically tell you the first word on that page, and it will also tell you the last word on the page. Sorry. So instead of like literally looking through the dictionary and not being able to find a word, the guide words will be there to either show you that this is the first word that is on the specific page, as well as the last word, and it's alphabetically based on, yeah, it's alphabetically. So we see that with the guide word, it will basically tell you the first word as well as the last word on the page. So all the other words on the page, right? This is now within your dictionary. So all the other words on the page, they come between the guide words. So if your guide word, for example, is force, right? So if the first word is force, then they'll maybe give you another word like that's basically lost, right? That is also between, let's say, FO, which is force, and maybe the last word will maybe be FU something, right? Or F something. And then all the other words that is in between the that first word as well as the last word, right, of that specific page, they basically come between the guide words, and they're also in alphabetical order, which I mentioned. And it being in alphabetical order makes it much more easier for you to be able to identify and look up a specific word within the dictionary. And that is why we call it guide words, in order to guide you in a manner to make it more easier. So in order for you to put the words, or in order for the words, in order for it to be in alphabetical order, it's basically put in order by the first letters. So if you are looking at a word starting with A, right, then you'll probably have a letter that is maybe um, AB, right? Maybe abstract. Just an example. I'm just now AB because B is the second letter of the alphabet. Then you'll maybe have, for example, accident afterwards. Then you'll maybe have advert, right? So this is basically just examples to show how the words will be in alphabetical order, or let's say the letters will kind of be in alphabetical order, and it will make it much more easy for you to be able to be guided in order to look for that specific word. So it is basically in order of first word. So we first have your letter A and all the other letters of A, and that is also in alphabetical order. Then they go on to B, and then the very same thing. If the first word of B is bag, right? Then you'll have a few other words with BA before it goes on to BE, for example. So to put the words in alphabetical order, we need to put them in order by the first letters. And if the first letters are the same, then you look at the second letters. And it's like I made an example earlier, yeah, with the BA. For example, bag, and then you'll have another word that is also starting with BA. You'll probably have a couple of words because depending on the specific words that can be formed or made with, let's say, the starting letters of BA. Just, yeah, that is just random examples that I'm giving. So if the second letters are the same, right, then you look at the third letters and so on and so on. But like I say, the dictionary is basically, it's guiding you in order to make it much more easy for you to be able to look up certain words. And they start by, for example, on each page of the dictionary, they tell you the first word and the last word, and all the other words that's in between are alphabetical order. So if one word, right, this is not in the dictionary, if one word is shorter and there are no more letters to compare, then the shorter word comes first in the alphabetical order. For example, becomes. So examples of become, and before, or bid, right? So if one word is shorter and there are no more letters to compare, then the shorter word will come first, which means that we'll probably put bid in between become and before. So the shorter word comes first in the alphabetical order. And then when it comes to looking up a specific word, right, within the dictionary. So if you're looking up a specific word in the dictionary, they will tell you to select the part of the speech also within the dictionary entry. So if you are looking up the word force, they even tell you how to say the word. Like that is why we have words like things like pronunciation and how to pronounce words. And there's like a difference between pronunciation and pronouncing words. So here they also give you a guide as to how to say it, right? And they will tell you, for example, the part of speech. Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? Is it an adverb? Or whatever it is. For example, this is a noun. And they even tell you that the plural form of force is forces. So first, the word that you look up, you'll get the specific word that you were looking through or looking for in the dictionary. They tell you how to pronounce the pronunciation thereof. They tell you what part of speech it is. Sometimes they'll either tell you if it's what the plural form is or not. Now, depending on the amount of meanings there are of the specific word, right? And then that is where they number it and they give you the different meanings of a specific word or the word that you looked up. So now force, the meaning of force is, for example, then they'll tell you the first one is strength or power. And then they'll also give you a sentence to go with that. So Luther needed to use a lot of force to open the jar. And the sentence makes it more easier for you to also understand the meaning of that specific word that you looked up. Because if you're just thinking of strength and power, right? Sometimes it doesn't really make sense. But now if there's also a sentence to go with that, right? And then it will make much more sense. For example, Luther needed to use a lot of force to open the jar, which means that the jar was very tight. Then they'll give you maybe a second example or a second meaning. So now they'll say in science, this is examples, something that pushes or pulls an object. So even in science, they use the word force, right? Or they practicalize force, which is something that pushes or pulls an object. With an example sentence, Ariel measured the force of the wind. And the force of the wind is not necessarily like pulling something, right? So, a group of people also, so this is now another example, right? So, a group of people who work in one area together, such as the police. So, a group of people that who work together within an area, right, such as the police, we call that the police force. For example, Miss Jefferson plans to join the police force. You see, so this is also where the word force comes in, and this is now, let's say, our specific word that we had to, or that you had to now look up in the dictionary. So the dictionary basically makes it much more easy for you to not just look up a specific word and to get the meaning, but they guide you in ways to make it much more easy for you to understand by giving example sentences, many different ways in which you can use the word, for example, and also in what other way maybe the word is being used. So force doesn't just have to be strength and power, but if we look at the third, if we look at the third example, right? It's a group of people who work in one area together, such as the police force. That has got nothing to do with strength, right? Like physical strength. So the dictionary, it guides us and it makes it much more easier for us to navigate our way through the dictionary, or finding our way through finding certain words and making meaning of words. So also when it comes to dictionary words, right, or looking up the dictionary words, the entry word is the word that you look up, right? So if you are looking up force, right, then that is your entry word that you are looking up. And we specifically say that entry words are listed in alphabetical order. So already once you open up the dictionary, it's going to start by A, right? And then all of the other words of A, words and meanings of A, up until the last word that we know of. Then it goes to B, and the very same, all of the other words of B with its meaning up until the last letter of the alphabet. Right? But if you're specifically looking up a word like force, right? Then the entry word is, for example, force. Once you've looked up that word force, for example, or a specific word, they will then give you the pronunciation of that word. And the pronunciation, it tells you how the word should sound. And sometimes it looks in letters that looks as if the sentence, that word does not make sense, but that basically just tells you how the word should sound, and we call that pronunciation. Not pronunciation. How you pronunciation is also how you it's basically how you but pronunciation is how it should sound. Then once look word, it tells you the pronunciation and how it should sound. Then the part of speech then tells you whether the entry of the word is either a verb, an adjective, a noun, an adverb, or any other part of speech. And the different forms of the entry word are listed so that you can see how to spell them. So as much as you looked up force, right? And next to the word force, they'll give you the part of speech, right? To tell you whether it is either a verb, a noun, But then there will also be different forms of that entry word listed so that you can maybe see how to spell them and based on the specific part of speech. Because remember, they'll maybe give you a specific word, and then based on the word, they'll either say if it's an action word and the sentence will match that to see or to show if it is either a verb that shows action or if it's a noun, right, that names either something, or if it's an adjective that describes the noun, or if it's an adverb that tells us about the verb or describes or modifies the verb. And most dictionaries, they list the plural forms for noun entries. So if, for example, we have one force, if we have force, then it will maybe tell us forces. That is now the plural form, more than one. Or if you're looking up a whatever specific word, they'll tell you the plural form of that word. But not all dictionaries, but most dictionaries will do that. So they'll give you the plural form, the plural forms for noun entry words. They'll sometimes give you the comparative as well as the superlative forms of the adjectives entry words. And they'll also sometimes give you the jungations for verbs of entry words. But not all dictionary does. But like we say, most dictionaries do that. All right, so far we see that we have, once you look up a word within the dictionary, we call that your entry word, right? After your entry word, you will have a word that will tell you how it should sound, which is called the pronunciation. Then they'll show you the part of speech to show whether it is either a noun, verb, adjective, or so on. Then there will be different other forms of the entry word that are listed so that you can see how to spell them. And most dictionaries, they plural form or the superlative forms of those plural forms of the nouns or the jungations of the verb entry words. And then also a dictionary, it tells you what the entry word means, right? So you have your entry word that you looked up. So now it tells you or gives you your specific definition or the meaning of that entry word that you looked up. And if an entry word has more than one meaning, then each meaning is numbered. And we made an example earlier on with force. Let me just go back over here. So you'll maybe like have whatever word, and then they'll number those words or the number the meanings, right? To also give you more of a broader understanding or idea of the meaning of that word. So definition, it basically tells you what the entry word means. We define it, if that's another word. And if the entry word has more than one meaning, then each meaning is numbered. And we also mentioned that a sample, like a sample sentence shows you how the word can be used in context. So with every meaning, they will also give you like a sample sentence to show you how the word can be used in context. Because remember, it's like I made an example of force, and I'm specifically going back to force all the time because we specifically went over the whole meaning of force, right? So with the sample sentence, right, it shows you how the word can be used in context because that word can be used in many different contexts. So at first we'll think force is maybe to do with strength, right? But as we saw, force can either be strength or power, right? Or it can be how scientists perceive it by measuring something, measuring force of maybe wind or whatever. Or it can be a group of people in one specific area, one specific workplace, and we call that the force, specifically like a police force. And the police force has got nothing to do with strength, like physical strength. All right. But most importantly, if we now basically sum up a dictionary when it comes to dictionary skills, right? Dictionaries, it guides us, right? And they make it much more people, the more modern or the more times have changed, dictionaries has become, let's say, more modernized in the way of it becoming, or it's made more easier for people to look up certain words, entry words, and they're giving you more of a broader definition and meanings of certain words. All right. So now we're going to use guide words, right? And we see that guide words, it appears on each page of the dictionary, right? So they tell you the first word as well as the last word on that specific page, right? And all the other words, they come in between the first word as well as that last word of on that page, between the guide words, and it is in alphabetical order. All right, so if you look at this word, right, which is gear or gear and gourd, right? So now I'm going to give you two words, which is gap and glow. So gear and gourd, right? Gear starts with a G, both these two words, right? So these, we must now look at, okay, the question is which word would you find on a dictionary page with the following guide words? So if your guide words is gear and gourd, right? So now between gap and glow, which one of these words would you find between gear and gourd? Remember, we said that we first look at the first letter of the word. Thereafter, we go to the second letter of the word. And remember, it is alphabetical order. So, for example, GE, so which means that gear is probably going to be first. And I'm going to put gear on top. And then gourd, which is GO, we're going to put letter at the bottom, which means that one of these two words is going to have to come in the it's going to come between those two words. So you're specifically going to look at the second letter. So if you look up a specific word, will you find gap in between these two words, or will you find glow in between these two words? Gap being G-A-P and glow being G-L-O-W. All right, so if we specifically, the word that we will find between gear and gold, right, will be glow. Let me use a different color. So it will be glow, right? And the reason why it will be glow, it's because if we look at the letters alphabetically, right, gap, because all of these starts with a G, right? So all of these words starts with a G. So which means that we look at our second letter. So which means that gap is supposed to be before gear, right? It's supposed to be before gear because gear is GE, gap is GA. So which means that GA goes before GE because A is before E, right? So then we have gear and we have gourd. Gear being GA, gourd being GO, right? So the word that comes in between these two words is glow because glow, the second letter is with an L, and L, the letter L is between E and O. So glow is basically the word that you would find in the dictionary between these two guided words. All right, so if you look at these two words, which is painter, painter, you're specifically talking about guided words, right? Painter and pennies, right? So if we look at our guide words, right? We said our guide words, it's words that appears on each page of the dictionary. They tell you the first word as well as the last word on the page. So if the first word on the page is painter and the last word on that specific page is pennies, right? Now they want to know, would you find the word protest? Would you find the word protest on a dictionary page with the following words, which means that will you find protest on this specific page with painter and pennies on? Remember, we said that your guide words is the first word as well as the last word on the page, and then all the other words are in between the guide words in an alphabetical order. So protest, do you think that it will be between painter and pennies? And if we were to put these words in alphabetical order, remember we said that the P stays the same. Then we look at the second letter, right? So which means that painter, of course, will be first because it's P-A. Then pennies because it's P-E. So which means that protest comes after pennies, right? Which means that protest we will not find on that specific dictionary page, because pennies is the last word on that page. All right, so now we're going to our test. So would you find the word walk on a dictionary page with the following guide words? Remember we said the guide words is wine and week, right? Guide words, it is the words that you'll find on that specific page in the dictionary, and they'll give you the first word as well as the last word of that specific page. So assume that wine, which is WHINE, is the first word on that page, or the first guided word, and week is the last guided word. So then now they want to know, with the word walk, would you find walk on that specific dictionary page with the following guide words? Would walk be in between wine and week? And remember, this wine is like nagging wine. So we walk. Would we find walk on the specific page between wine and week? Yes or no? So since walk, the second letter of walk is with an A, right? So which means that no, we will not be able to find this we will not be able to find walk on the specific dictionary page, because walk is actually before wine, not in between wine. So the answer is no. Would you find the word protest on a dictionary page of the following guided words, which is painter and pennies? Is it yes or no? All right, so basically, if we look at the word protest, right? Protest actually comes after pennies, which means that protest will not be found on the specific page. So it's going to be no. So would you find the word exhaust on a dictionary page with the following guide words? Elevator and evident. So elevator and evident. Remember we said that the guide words, right? It's the words that you find on a dictionary page or on each page in the dictionary. So if they give you the two words, and it means that the first word is the word that you'll find on the page, and for example, evident will be the last word that you find on the page, and all the other words will be in between these two guided words, and it's in alphabetical order. So now, exhaust. Well, we find exhaust in between elevator and evident. So exhaust, right? So elevator and evident. So elevator is EL, right? And then evident. So elevator and between evident, right? So basically, exhaust comes after evident, which means that no, exhaust will not be on that specific page. So, which word would you find on a dictionary page with the following guide words? Cattle and coddle. So, which word will we find in between these two words? Cattle and coddle. Is it chew or cruise? So, the word that is between cattle and coddle, is it chew or is it cruise? If we even look at cruise, right? Cruise comes after, like R, the second letter comes after O, which means that cruise is already out. So chew is the word that we will find on a dictionary page with cattle and coddle. So chew is correct. And would you find the word help on a dictionary page with the following guide words? Home and hustle. So would you find the word help? And if we look at the word help, right? Help is H-E. Our first guided word is home, which is H-O, and then hustle, which is H-U, right? And help, E, comes before O, which means that no, you will not find help on that page. So no is correct. And would you find the word gleam on a dictionary page with the following guide words? Gleam. Will you find gleam on the page where garment is, the guide words garment, as well as grove, gleam? So gleam, right? Do we find gleam in between garment and grove? So gleam is GL, garment is GA, grove is GR. So yes, we will find gleam in between garment and grove. And yes is correct. All right, so that is basically our lesson dictionary skills, and we see that we have guided words when looking up a specific word in a dictionary, and when also looking up words in the dictionary, the words are alphabetical order, right? They give us guide words where they'll tell you the first letter, the first word, as well as the last word within that dictionary or that's on the page, right? Once looking up a word, we call that the entry word. They'll tell you the pronunciation of the word. They'll give you the part of speech of the word to say whether it's a noun, verb, or whichever part of speech it is. Right? They'll even give you different meanings of that specific word, right? As well as different sentences to show the context in which you will be able to find or you'll be able to understand the meaning, right? And if there is multiple meanings of that specific word, it will be numbered. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on dictionary skills. Thank you very much for joining the class. And I hope you're going to have a good weekend further as well as a great Christmas. Goodbye.